Welcome to Owl Talk, brought to you by Rise Digital Learning and Strategy, exploring digital education in the 21st century. I'm Daniel Villanueva, your host, and today we're joined by Seth Tyger, Senior Course Designer and Team Lead at Rise Digital Learning. Together, we'll go behind the scenes to show how strong instructional design drives real learning online. In this episode, we'll touch on three things: what great online courses do differently, how design and data improve learning, and practical takeaways you can use right away. Welcome to Owl Talk, Seth. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So you are an instructional designer here at Rise Digital Learning. Mm-hmm. You're a pillar of our community within providing services to faculty, students, and staff on digital learning. So before we get too into the important work, tell us a little bit about yourself. What led to instructional designing? How did you get here? What does that do? How did someone end up in this field? Okay. And what was your path here?
Okay, well, this might be a long story, but first off, thank you for calling me a pillar. I think that's one of the first times I've been called a pillar before. So I've been with Rice Digital Learning almost since its inception. I've been here for almost 10 years now. And my path getting here was kind of atypical, I guess, or maybe typical for a lot of instructional designers. I didn't have an awakening at the age of 10 and think, I want to be an instructional designer. I don't think anyone thinks that. That'd be weird. But
that 10-year-old out there, he's having that epiphany. He's like, I'm weird.
So. Maybe. Yeah. Well, I think you'll find that a lot of people in the creative fields are weird. So that's good. It's the right person.
That. Yeah. We will accept that. I'm weird as well.
Great. My undergrad, I guess, and with the respects of this podcast and talking about higher education, my undergraduate was in communications media. I did that for a little bit. I didn't necessarily think that college was right for me. I took my time. I took some time off. I worked some odd jobs. And then I ended up going back to school, finishing my 4-year degree. It was, at that time I graduated. I was looking for work, pretty unsuccessful, just taking whatever odd jobs I could to, pay bills and whatnot.
So before we go any further, what was the worst odd job you had in that job? I want to know something that none of us would know that Seth did this. That's legal.
Yeah, right? Okay. Well, I won't name names, but I think the worst was a factory job working at a printing press. It wasn't necessarily the work, but a lot of it was the people, but also to the hours. It was just, I was working 12-hour shifts. I never saw the light of day. It was just not great. And
so anything from that job experience that relates to what you do today, anything that you can go back and think, at that factory job, I learned X that really helps instructional design today. Is there anything?
Well, I think first off, the main lesson learned was college is much better than working in a factory sometimes, at least that factory. So it was a lot easier for me to choose to go back to college after working a not so great job. Mm-hmm. But you could kind of see where an instructional designer might be helpful with their onboarding and things like that, helping have a sense of community, letting people know what the actual end product is, so that maybe whenever you're doing mundane things, you actually know that you're a part of a team and there's a part of a community. I think an instructional designer might be able to see that.
Wow. So you graduate, you finally go back and decide, okay, I'm going to graduate. Mm-hmm. And what was your degree in?
That was communications media. I mostly studied animation and video game design.
Wow. So Seth was going to do what at the completion of this degree? What was our mission to go do?
I think what I really wanted to do was get my foot into a video game company, doing probably lower tier stuff, like doing level design and things like that, some 3D work, but try to work my way up into just doing whatever it took. I felt like if I was doing something in that industry, I'd feel good, like I'd made it. I think I later discovered that hobbies don't necessarily make good careers, that maybe just do what is okay and something that you're passionate about, but then you can have your hobbies on the side too and be able to afford those.
So we take from this that your hobbies are playing game and animation.
Yeah, less so animation anymore. I think the technology's passed me. I'm not really good at it anymore, but video games for sure still I think that anybody that's also in instructional design can really appreciate good, solid video game design too, because there's scaffolding involved. You start off at a level or an experience that you don't know what you're doing necessarily, and then throughout good design, your character builds. You, the player, start to understand the game a little bit more. You know how to succeed. You get more skills, and then that cycle just keeps repeating until like you're really good at the game.
So that's an interesting concept, and I think that's brilliant. I mean, I think you're brilliant for that, for aligning those two. So then I have a really interesting kind of off the wall question.
Okay.
You cheated at Mario Kart to beat me in a game that we played, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I came in second, and I was really going to be first, but you cheated, and we won't go there.
Mm-hmm.
But talking through like Mario Kart, right? I think this is a fascinating start to this conversation. You aligned instructional design to gaming design. For me, I know Mario Kart, and I know a lot of our audience will play that. Talk me through how you could correlate a game of Mario Kart to instructional design.
Okay. Well, I guess the newer rendition of the game, you don't necessarily have all of the unlockables. You don't have all the cards. You don't have all the characters. You have to keep playing it. You have to keep winning, and you start to unlock different things, different levels, different vehicles, different add-ons, things like that. So you first have to get mediocre before you can get really good. And then you start off at, I think, 50cc, and then you move on to 100cc, and then 150cc.
And it's fast.
Right. And then at that point, you're kind of really good at the game once you get to that level. I think there's 200cc maybe. I don't know.
250 maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. So you're done. You've graduated. What's next? What do we do? How do we get to instructional design?
Sure. So I floundered a little bit then after I graduated, finding a video game design job in Western Pennsylvania. So I was just looking for kind of whatever. I actually looked into marketing. I looked into just digital art, anything I can try, and I was struggling. And then at that point too, I had some family stuff happen. I ended up being a caretaker of sorts, which I'm really happy that I was able to do that, and I was at that part of my life that I had at the time. And after that, though, I didn't necessarily have the skills that I had acquired in my 4-year degree, because a lot of them were technical. But so I realized then I should probably maybe enhance my skills or go back, and then maybe instead of focusing on strictly technical that you kind of have to re-up on frequently, that maybe I could get more into the theoretical side of things. And that was more the instructional design and just like studying education, best practices, pedagogy, and distance education. So that's kind of a lot of what instructional design does and entails. So that I went back to grad school at that point.
And in grad school, your degree was in instructional design?
It had an element of it. The technical term, I think, was adult education and communication technology. So there was a branch of communications media in it, but more on the pedagogy and specifically andragogy side.
So we're done with our master's. We've finished it. How do we get into instructional design? At what point do we've gotten our education? We've kind of played our video games. We served as a caretaker, gone back to get our graduate degree. At what point now do we get into the real job of work and then discover instructional design?
Yes. Well, I floundered still a little bit, as most recent grads do, on finding something that was kind of entry level, because you don't have any, I lacked experience, I was fresh out of grad school. So again, I was just taking whatever. I took a landscaping job, and then I took eventually a construction supervisor role, which was funny because I kind of went to school to stay out of construction.
Yeah, this isn't correlating, right? So you've got a degree in communications and then a master's degree in some sort of instructional design, and you take a construction management job.
Yeah, it was more supervisory. So there was a little bit of training involved, and that's how I kind of justified it. I was like, well, I'm still kind of doing stuff with it. It's not, my degree isn't going fully to waste, or I can still say on my resume or CV that I was doing related work.
But did you know how to build a house? I mean, if you're a construction manager and I'm going to train you, like, here are the nails, here's the wood, like, how do you...
Unfortunately not. It was more like, let me tell you how to do the job safely.
Okay.
And if we're being honest,
safety.
it was very much nepotism that got me there. So I didn't necessarily even know what I was doing, but I was doing really good at the training part of things. People were coming in. I had to show them all the different safety regulations that we had to follow. There was PowerPoints involved. There was me learning a little bit about what their experience was and adjusting my presentations accordingly. And then there was also like walking around the construction site, and it was in the energy sector too. So I can't really do anything practical with like housing or like home remodeling. And I also can't tell you necessarily how a boiler works at an oil refinery either. But that's essentially what brought me then to Texas.
Okay.
And I saw the kind of job opportunities that were here, and specifically in Houston, which I had some family here. So I gave that the old college try after college. And then I was still searching for jobs, still employed with the construction company. Another job.
Relocated here in Houston.
Yeah. I was here at that point. And then I opted to not take any more construction jobs and just fully focus on coming back to education, a place where I thought there was a lot of opportunity, and also a place where I thought that I really was passionate about and agreed with the end product. I know like everyone needs petroleum, and it's a thing, but that we currently need. But I would rather align myself with education. That made me feel a little bit better after a day's work.
Yeah. So you're sitting, I imagine, in a energy sector job. You've just given a training to a bunch of people who don't want to be trained. And you're scrolling the internet and see Rice is offering an online job. Is that how this comes to be?
Yeah. I was, there's Inside Higher Ed is a great place for people that want to seek jobs within the education sector. And I was on there every single day looking, and I initially didn't actually know Rice University, admittedly. I came here because Google Maps said there was a disc golf course here. So
is there a disc golf course here?
Kinda. Okay. It's not a very good one. Okay. Sorry. It's, but it was here, and it got me here on campus, and I saw how gorgeous it was. I went home and I was like, I want to work here. And then I started doing my research. I started realizing how great it would be to actually work here, how much of an opportunity it would be. And then I applied for several positions, but this was the one I was actually really, really hoping to get. And I was lucky enough to get it.
And you've been here about 10 years now.
Yeah, 10 years.
So in the field of digital learning, are there any mentors or moments that you can think of that really shaped the way that you think about teaching and instructional design for the online space, either while you've been at Rice or professional developments or people outside of our institution that you really say, these have been great mentors, or this has been a pivotal moment for me? Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I know I said that I didn't come out of the womb thinking about instructional design. But at a pretty young age, when reflecting about like what led me here too, I did this a few years back. I was thinking that with my like doing projects and things around the house and stuff like that with my father, he was a Renaissance guy. He could do everything, and he did everything well. And whether it be like fixing stuff around the house, building things, engineering something, or even art too, really good artist.
I'm so jealous of people who have those skills. I can't
do
it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So whenever I would ask him about like, how do I do that? He was a terrible teacher. So it was like, he didn't know other than just do it, because he was naturally gifted. So he didn't know how to teach. So I've been trying to gain those skills. I've been trying to understand how to teach so that I can maybe teach somebody skills, and just like how important that is to be able to sit somebody down and that doesn't know something and walk them through and be patient. I wasn't necessarily the most patient of guys, but to be able to walk through step by step and teach somebody. But then later, what was the follow-up? Sorry.
The follow-up question is any mentors or moments.
Oh.
Your dad is a mentor, I guess, in reflection
Sure.
of your experience about the importance of instructional design, being able to tell somebody and walk them through. But any moments that you can think of? Or anyone else?
Well, there wasn't like a lightning strike moment, I don't think, but I did have a lot of great teachers through K through 12. Like I said, I was from Western Pennsylvania, and at the time that I was going through the system, it was nationally ranked as one of the better public schools to go to. And so I had fantastic teachers from very early on. And then actually my alma mater, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which exists despite the funny name, it started out as a normal school, meaning that it was primarily teaching teachers. Mm-hmm. And then they went into nursing. And then so that's also a lot to do with like being able to teach. So my college career too, just some of the best teachers that I've had, and seeing other people not have those experiences, I took a lot of that for granted. Yeah. And so it's kind of, and some of the instructors that I work with now, you can kind of see that they've either naturally had it or they've had really good instructors. And that's usually one of the first questions I ask is like, think of one of your favorite instructors or teachers, whether it be kindergarten or your doctorate. Like what made them special? What did they do? And oftentimes it's that they cared, they had time, but that things were also well thought out. Yeah. Things were easy to follow. That's all instructional design.
That well thought out is really a lot of work too. When I think of my best faculty member, it was Dale Carnegie at a community college. Cool. And this guy was probably at the time 70. I mean, when you're younger, everybody seems older. So maybe he wasn't, but in my imagination, he was 70. And he'd walk into the room and he just had a chalkboard and chalk. And it appeared as if he would come into the room and just spend the entire 90 minutes drawing characters and like just scribbling things, right? And you were fascinated with the conversation. But now that I teach, I go back and think he had the outline driven, he had everything proposed. And he presented it as if it was a conversation and him just drawing casually. But it was so well thought out that you could follow it on a chalkboard to the T of his storytelling and be able to learn these real important lessons. So when I'm designing my course, I think about how can I do that digitally, right? Because we're in a digital age. Mm-hmm. So for our listeners who may be sitting there thinking, okay, I'm interested in Seth. He's a cool guy. He's claiming that he does instructional design. What is instructional design? What does that mean? What does that look like? Can you share with our listeners literally what it means, what it looks like, and a little bit of its evolution over the last couple of years that you've kind of noticed with instructional design?
Mm-hmm, sure. I'll try. It's all just within pedagogy, which pedagogy is just the science of learning. And what it ultimately does, like an instructional designer, it's all just essentially goals and objectives. So you're trying to dig out what everyone's doing at various levels. So even if it's just a single course that you're trying to help design, you're also going back to what does the department want? What are their main goals? What are their outcomes? What does the degree look like even too? What does the job market look like? What are the skills involved? So trying to make sure that all bases are covered for the goals that are going to help students achieve what they need at the end of it. So it starts with finding out about your learners, and then goals and objectives. And then what you're doing is hopefully you have a very collaborative group, and then you're trying to iron all of those out and then create a positive student experience. And in the case of Rice Digital Learning, we're blessed with a big, great team of video producers, of marketing, of student success, and we all work together collaboratively. And so a lot of what an instructional designer does sometimes too is one of the various hats is a little bit of a project manager. So it's kind of making sure things are on track, making sure the instructor has what they need, making sure the rest of the team has what they need, and making sure that it's done on a somewhat timely manner.
So you typically in Rice Digital Learning are doing this exclusively for the online courses. So what would you say is kind of the biggest misconception either you hear from faculty or other people in the industry, whether they're students or constituents, about online course design? and its differentiation between an online course and an in-person course?
Yes, sure. I think a lot of folks think that they can just digitize their in-person course and just dump it onto a learning management system, and students will figure it out. They'll watch a 90-minute lecture, and then they'll take the same assessment that they had prepared for their in-person.
So what you're telling me is that they shouldn't and couldn't do that.
They can, and people still do, but it's our job to make sure that they understand that, a 90-minute lecture really isn't you speaking at the students or putting up a Zoom for 90 straight minutes. What you would actually do in the classroom, and a lot of instructors don't realize this, that they're just instinctively doing this, you're constantly checking for understanding. You're looking to see if things are being absorbed the way that they should be, or that it's clicking. That
through head nods, through the eye contact, through
right,
just
exactly.
them getting those aha moments.
Yeah, or even if there's questions. So you're stopping your lecture frequently, probably every 5 to 10 minutes, if not more frequently. You're getting a feel for how they're doing, you're answering questions, and then what happens, that happens 10 times over or so. But what happens in the digital realm, you're doing the same thing. You're just, instead of speaking in a Zoom for 90 minutes, you're lecturing for maybe a 5-minute mini lecture. And then instead of scanning the room and saying is this actually taking, you send out a little survey, you send out a little practice assessment, your little feelers. Yes. And then you go back to a lecture, and then maybe you do another assessment. Maybe it's a deeper assessment based on the goals and objectives of the course or that module. And you're just taking all these different parts of a 90-minute section and you're creating it more into an experience.
I think that's the best way I've ever heard that explained.
Good.
Because I think that when you are a faculty member and you are teaching, you're absolutely right. You are checking in these moments of assurance from the students that they get it, that you're allowed to progress to the next topic, that they understand that, and the alignment of how you're using that in an online course by these mini lectures and these mini assessments, I think really resonates with me, right, as someone who teaches online, but also perhaps with our faculty. So that's one main difference. Are there other main differences that you see when you're designing an online course versus one that may be in person, that you can distinctively say, when you're designing an online course, in addition to the lectures, which we just discussed, these are other things that are core that a faculty member should consider in terms of the differences between what they would regularly do in an in-person course that may not necessarily translate exactly into an online course?
Yeah, for sure. I think most instructors have a knack for being dynamic, based on, again, scanning the room, seeing what's working, what's not. So in an in-person, you could do that, and then you could say oh, we need to slow down, or we need to take a step back, or we need to spend another week on this, or these students get it. I can actually fast forward. I can actually skip this next 2 chapters. And that's not necessarily natural in an online course. Sure, you can survey, you can get results. You can tweak a little bit, but it's a lot harder because you're doing a lot of the upfront work, especially if you're doing it how we do it here, which is a lot of production upfront, and then you kind of let it run. You're there for feedback and stuff like that. Hopefully a well-designed course, you can kind of sit back and do the feedback, do the interaction, but it should be designed as such that you're kind of a little bit more hands-off than you would be traditionally. That being said, you lose some of that dynamic aspect. So you need to be checking in with your online students a lot more frequently than you probably think. You need to be checking in with office hours. You need to be having regular Zooms, because online students or online learners tend to take those courses because they kind of want to take a step back, be like, I don't have the time. I don't have the convenience of, or I right now I can't go to the class, the physical class. So I just want to get my coursework done. Whether they're struggling or not, you might not be able to tell. So you really need to be checking up with them a lot more. And then you need to potentially be tweaking your times and the amount of time you spend on certain things that would come naturally in the in-person, but a little less naturally on the online realm.
So, in developing these courses with faculty, how do you balance pedagogy and technology, and especially where we are now, where technology is advancing faster than most of us like to believe, and so we're in the world of new innovation creation, and our department is leading a lot of that creation and innovation, right? So, how do you balance pedagogy, the science of learning, and integrate it with technology with a diverse faculty who may be some are embracing and ready to be in the pilot group, and others are still concerned with rightful reservations for whatever reason, right? How do you, as an instructional designer and someone who's managing a team of instructional designers, really balance that with faculty?
Yeah, like you said, it's balancing. It's a balancing act, but it's always going to be pedagogy first. Pedagogy is pedagogy. Like, the learning has to always be there. Technology should, in my opinion, shouldn't drive the student experience. Now it can enhance it, but really what you're trying to do is iron out all the learning that needs to take place, making it the most efficient, and that's sometimes where technology comes in. So, can we do it easier using this app, or would a student experience be more rich if we did like video assessments versus just like writing an essay? So the technology should be there to support, not guide, for sure. But then as technology emerges, you have to also be up on that, and you also have to do your due diligence to make sure that that is actually a more enriching experience. It's not just the more convenient or easier experience. So we dabble and try to see what works best, but I think it's definitely always pedagogy first, and then technology to help assist. And then sometimes you just try, and sometimes it takes, sometimes it doesn't. That's when we rely on the student experience too, and surveying regularly. Is this technology actually helping your learning experience? Are you achieving your goals? And then if not, you might have to pull the plug on that.
So what are common mistakes faculty can make when first teaching online, right? In addition to not being receptive to the pedagogy that you all bring in terms of the online differentiation with the lectures and the assessments and the redesign, are there other common mistakes faculty who are first teaching online can make? I know as I shared with you the other day, when I first started teaching, they handed me the book. It was like a Tuesday, and they said, the class starts on Friday. This faculty passed away. We need you to teach the class, right? Yeah. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing. And they said, well, the number one rule is don't tell the class that this is your first class.
Right.
And what did Daniel do? I went in, I was like, you guys were my first class. And I learned to never tell them that was your first class. Right. But that's an in-person, right? But in an online fashion, what is, kind of your advice to people who are thinking about it or have just done it, first time teaching mistakes for online?
Yeah. I see, as I get older and the instructors get like closer to the age where I started, it's not as a problem, but a lot of times people use their LMS as just a repository. I put up all the readings. You'll find it here, or they'll just like email, like, follow all this, and here's a link. And it's just like, here's some files, go here, find this, and then do this assessment. And then also maybe there's a video I have here somewhere too. So it's really about being organized and getting all of those things in some sort of modular type of experience where students can, okay, here's the reading, here's my objectives, here's the supplementary material, here's the lecture video, here's the assessment, here's the other lecture video, so that they can get into a rhythm where they're fully experiencing what you want them to experience, and that they're having a good UI, UX type of thing. They're not being frustrated about where things are. They're not having to email an instructor and be like, I don't know where any of this is. Or, you're trying to make a really good experience for the students, because that might be their first experience logging in too. If you're the first instructor, they might not have this online experience. You see more and more now, but So having things organized in a nice manner is probably the first thing you can do, and kind of the easiest. Does take time. It is those like administrative tasks that kind of nobody wants to do, or they get put to the side. But it's a really easy win, just to kind of make everything out into a modular design.
So what is something that these students often underestimate in terms of an online course, right? You don't necessarily engage with most of them, but you do get some of their student feedback, and you were a student once. And so through your experiences, what do you think students who say, okay, I'm going to take this online course, what are some things that they often underestimate about an online course?
Yeah, for sure. That's that probably, just like the instructors don't think, it's a lot of work. It's sometimes more work. Usually it is more work because it requires more discipline. I don't have that level of discipline that makes me successful in online courses. So I would actually, if I can, prefer to be in person, because the liability is shifted. Like, oh, I'll just be there. I know that I'll be there for this time. There's a 90-minute time slot that I have to be there, and I will dedicate that time and I won't be distracted. Now, if you take that to the online realm, now you're like, okay, I think I need to do this. I'll watch some of the videos. It should be a pretty easy week. But in reality, you're seeing like maybe there's a half hour of like lecture videos, but then you're not taking into consideration the reading materials. You're not thinking about the assessments. So it's timing, scheduling, slotting out time where you're not being distracted. It's putting away the things that will distract you. It's finding a calm It's finding a calm environment that you're sitting there, not probably at a coffee shop, although you can. It's just really getting down and discipline for yourself and creating the time. Logging in early that week. Yeah, everything's due Sunday at 11:59. Don't wait till Sunday at 11:59 a.m. to start doing the work, because oftentimes you're going to have reflection assignments. You're going to have things throughout the week that you were supposed to be doing that you're not going to get the full experience out of if you wait to the last minute. At least go in, see what that week entails, and then allot yourself enough time. And if you can, give yourself that same time like you would in a traditional class every other day. Say, let's go in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 90 minutes. I'll do my coursework.
Well, it's interesting. You talked about kind of your career, how you got to instructional design. We've talked a lot about the craft of instructional design, good courses and bad courses. But now I want to shift to talking about the role of like Rice Digital Learning and our instructional design team and what you all do. I work a lot with our faculty and deans and administrators, where we discuss the creation of new degree programs. And it's so exciting, right, to talk about how do we expand this master's degree? How do we introduce this new online master's degree? And one of the things that I always hear in these discussions from department chairs, faculty, and deans is, okay, we're ready to do this, or we're interested in doing this. How do we do this, and what will Rice Digital Learning do for us? And so I have a couple of questions specifically about kind of our process, and if you'll help me walk through that, I think our audience would find that useful. So if I have gotten approval to deliver this specific course online, tell me what I need to know as a faculty about this process. What happens next? What do y'all do? What do I do? How much work is this going to be? Should I run? Should I be excited, right? But start off with telling us kind of just the overview process of I've got my content, I teach in person, I'm ready to schedule my first meeting with you. What do we do?
So you go in, hopefully open-minded. You have some of what you want to accomplish. Either this is a course that exists, or it's brand new and exciting. I actually like the ones that don't exist. Yeah, I mean, because then
there's no comparison, right? Yeah, well, this is what we do over here, right? Like,
right.
You're not doing it. Yeah. It's branding.
So what we do is we have a kickoff meeting. We talk about our process, and then part of that process is going through our design meetings, which is usually about 3 or so weeks of regular meeting. and it's hashing out kind of what I said, the core of what instructional design is. It's talking about your audience. It's talking about what they need. It's talking about what the career that they're trying to get needs, especially for a degree program.
Yeah.
And then it's finding out where that course exists, what kind of program level outcomes need to be within that course. Is it writing? Is it presenting? Is it soft skills? Where does that need to be within that course? And then how are we going to do it? And then
so to those questions, if I'm a faculty member who said, okay, I want to introduce this course, or my department chair said you're going to teach this course, where would I get that information? Like, where you're asking me my students, I'm going to tell you, because I'm ignorant, right? I'm going to tell you, Rice students. You're asking me what degree are they in? Let's make it up. Humanities, right?
Yeah.
So is it that level, or do you need me to visit with people to be at maybe a deeper level to say these are like computer science students who are graduates who are going to go get a job likely in this field? Therefore, our degree overview presents that graduates will have these skills. Is it that level, or is it just kind of a broader level?
Ideally more granular.
Okay.
The more granular, the better.
And so will you help a faculty through that process? If I come and I'm like,
Sure.
Seth, I don't know, my department chair just told me I'm here to teach a class.
Yeah.
Our Rice Digital Learning Instructional Design team will walk us through, okay, let's go together. This is what we're seeing. This is what it is. And you'll help me to ascertain that information.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, ideally, if the instructor is willing and able, I like to have those kind of meetings at Valhalla and just kind of actually get to know them, what they want to do, really iron it out. Spend a couple hours and just, I mean, it could be 20 minutes just talking about who your audience is, defining that more than just Rice student.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking about what kind of careers come with that.
Okay.
What industries. Also, like, since it's online, we can assume certain things. We can assume that they're probably working professionals. They're probably 3 to 5 years outside of their degree, undergrad. Yeah. So those are some of the things that we take into consideration as well, as far as the audience is concerned. But yeah, we're gonna help you, and then also too, y'all help too with some of the SEOs about like what are the students needing, what are they looking for.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that they want, and they want maybe this in a shorter amount of time. So we might have to take a traditional 14-week course and truncate that into something else. Or maybe they want to pair that. Maybe it's not a degree. Maybe it's a certificate.
Yeah.
That's very early conversations. Usually not with me. They know that by the time they get with me. But all considerations.
So we've done that work. You now know who my audience is. You now know the career outcomes. You now know the department degree. We've had a conversation. I want it to be online. I want it to be 16 weeks. Here's my draft syllabus, whether I drafted it because it's a new course or this is what I use online. What's our next step?
So yeah, then that goes from early design into the design work. That's just kind of sitting down with an instructional designer and at times video producer and feeling for what does that all look like now. Let's take it from module 1. What are your objectives for module 1? Okay, how do we get there? What does it look like? Does this need to be a video lecture? Can it be a reading? What's going to be the most effective way to get through all of those objectives that you're trying to achieve in just this module? And what's that look like? Do you want to do a demo? Do you want to get someone from industry to do an interview? What's going to be the best path for that student? And then we just do that over and over and over until we get to module 14.
So is this like co-design, meaning you're going to walk me through this and you're going to like coach me through all the options and we're going to discuss pedagogy and approach? Or is it I'm coming to you with all this and you're putting it together for me?
It can be both. People come in with different amounts of experience and organization. Like sometimes they know exactly what they want. And then it's yeah, that's great. You nailed it. But oftentimes it's like, okay, well, where could I need some help here? And it's filling in some gaps. But also just letting them know what we have to offer too. Letting them know that we have multiple studios, letting them know that they can do whatever crazy things that they want to an extent. And like we shoot, high, and then like, time crunch comes in or availability starts to go down. But, so maybe that idea turned into something else. But we're going through element by element of each course element and seeing what is best and letting the instructor know what's available.
So essentially, we'll design a 14 module kind of layout of the plan, whether it's the learning outcomes, any of the assessments that might accompany of those, any videos, any interviews, any other documentation that will be there to support that. Mm-hmm. And at that point, we're not doing any of it. We're just laying it out in terms of a map. This is the structure of our course.
Yes.
So once we've agreed on that, it's taken us a couple of weeks right now. Yeah. We're agreed on that. What do I do next?
At this point, we get into more of the production phase of things. So we have things laid out. We have at least an idea and probably a few modules kind of designed. And let's give it a shot. Let's see how well you do in the studio. Do you want to do like fully scripted? Do you want to do just bullet points? Or do you have presentation materials that you want to use? Let's give it a shot. Let's get in the studio. Let's do a prototype. Let's see how you want things to be. Let you get an experience. And then sometimes based on that, we might go back to, module 1 and then redesign from 1 to 14. Like, oh, okay, maybe
they're not good on camera. Or they don't do this, or whatever it is.
Yeah. You thought that you could wing it because you've been doing it for 10 years, but you actually perform better with a teleprompter.
Yeah.
So let's go back and let's script everything, and that way we're not missing anything that you want to cover. So that's the design phase, and that just kind of goes through working again module by module. Let's try to get one module filmed a week or so, and then we're also designing then for the following modules as we're filming. So it's a back and forth. Let's design the assessments and the presentation materials and scripts for module 2. We're filming 1, and then now next week we're 2 to 3, and so on and so forth. And in the best of situations, we could theoretically get all of that production done in about 7 to 10 weeks, depending on scheduling and everything like that.
So what I'm hearing from you is if I'm a RISE faculty member and I've been charged with a new course, or it's my idea, that the RISE Digital Learning Instructional Design team will walk me through this entire process. They will help me take my PowerPoints and help me redesign them. They will help me convert or create my mini assessments that could be embedded within the course. They will help me schedule industry professionals for interviews and or record videos that either incorporate me or others with demos, with instructional lectures. All of that is provided by RISE Digital Learning so that I, as the faculty member, come in as the content expert and really the final decision of the course, but it's a collaborative process where RISE Digital Learning is assuming some of this nitty-gritty work that has to be done in the development of that course. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a very a la carte type of situation where sometimes people need all of that, and we're happy to offer all of that. And sometimes people maybe need a third of that. It all depends on the instructor, the course, and what everything needs.
Yeah, and I kind of reassessed it and kind of circled back to give a conclusion to that, because I think that is a really important component that I hear from faculty and staff about what services do you provide? And okay, I'm ready to do this. What would be next? And so I think it was really helpful for you to walk them through kind of the overarching process as well as the services that are provided to faculty, so that if and when they're listening to this podcast and they decide or want to inquire about the course, they can listen here to get kind of the broad overview and the services that you provide. So in terms of that design, how does RISE Digital Learning ensure that the academic rigor and quality as well as the accessibility coexist in that process? Because you and I know the rules that are changing with the accessibility and the learning management systems, all for rightful reasons, right? Mm-hmm. But provide a unique challenge in the creation and the design of these courses from the get-go. How are y'all ensuring rigor, ensuring accessibility and quality in these courses?
Yeah, great question. So accessibility, I'll take that one first. That's mentioned from day one. Good design always has accessibility in mind. everyone should be able to have the same experience no matter what. So, we do a deep dive into the instructor's materials. Like, these are a lot like of scanned PDFs. Like let's move this back a little bit. Or do you have a TA that we can use, or do we want to assign a TA to this? And so that's going to change things a little bit, because we need to make sure that everything is accessible. And then the part of rigor, we're calculating how long lectures are. Is it somewhat equal to the in-person? Are we trying to get, those credit hour versus like in-person versus out-of-person, which is like in platform versus, doing the readings, doing the homework. So we're calculating that. And then sometimes even having either a coworker or someone go through and measure the time. So is this right? Does this feel right? Okay, we're hitting our marks here. And that's just like the time part of things. But as far as
which is highly important, as a former registrar, the contact hours the contact hours of a student paid for X amount of contact in a course compared to what is delivered is really important. So the fact that y'all are measuring that is really impressive, because I've never thought about it that way. And I teach a course, and now I'm going to go back and see how long my students are in that course, right? But I've never thought about the actual contact hours in a virtual environment, which is one way, I think, to ensure rigor and engagement.
Yeah, and there are analytics that we can see. I mean, we can, try to see how long students are actually going to be in this. But then once a course is launched, we're also monitoring that as well. How many hours are they logging in? What's their activity? How many? And going back to being an online course, oftentimes is more rigorous. You see like the amount of plays per video. Usually you don't have the opportunity to attend a lecture twice, but you can watch a lecture video hundreds of times if you wanted to, if you're not understanding a concept. So we see that people are actually watching lecture videos more than once, 2 or 3 times. And especially for our ESL students, that's super important to be able to do that. Yeah. I think I started talking about rigor, but got lost in some other
accessibility.
aspects.
I think you answered it.
Okay.
In terms of faculty and their ability to translate their teaching style, we each have kind of a teaching style. I talked about Dale Carnegie over at the community college, who walked in with a piece of chalk, and every day you were just illuminated by the drawings on the chalkboard and things. We all have our own teaching style. How do you ensure that a faculty's teaching style will be incorporated into the development of the online course? And do you feel that by the conclusion of the project, the development of the course, that you truly can see the individual teaching styles of faculty in these different courses that you all are producing?
I'd like to hope so, because again, that's a part of the very early conversations. Like, how do you teach, and like what's the most impactful part? Do you think? What do students resonate the most in your in-person course? And we want to make sure that we make that shine. I'm going to give away one of my secrets too, is I also look at the instructors' reviews at the end of the semester, what the students actually report. And I want to see what the highlights are of that specific instructor and make sure that we're getting those best parts. We're letting them do their lecture styles the way that they like to do them. Like if they're mostly demonstrative and they do very little lecturing, we don't have to lecture every single thing. That can be a video. That can be a reading. Let them read that part and let the bread and butter still exist with like demos. Like say if they're just, for your instructor's example, if they love to draw, then we'll use a whiteboard. Yeah. Like we don't need to make PowerPoints for you or like make you have to do these parts, especially if they're not as successful as other parts of your course is. So making sure that the instructor is shining and the best parts of them are out there is early discussions.
So, in terms of where we go as a profession and digital learning, I would say probably 20 years ago, digital learning looked like VHS tapes at home
Yeah.
where you would play the video of an instructor and you kind of had to mail in your homework. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm too young for those days, but I hear that was a version of online learning, right? To where we are today, and we have this asynchronous versus synchronous, and you can get a whole degree, a whole doctorate degree in online, right? Looking ahead, how do you think instructional design plays a part into the future of our education ecosystem, whether it's with AI, adaptive learning, or any new media tools that are out there? How does instructional design stay ahead of those, and what does the vision look like for Rice Digital Learning, if you can share?
So I think where instructional design fits in is making sure that we are looking ahead. We're staying in part with innovation. We are trying to also stay in touch with what's coming out. And higher education is typically slow to respond versus industry. I think that's changing a little bit. I think technology is allowing us to be more responsive to those changes, both from skill sets and what's available for careers. And I think that higher ed needs to do that if it still wants to survive in 10, 15 years. So I think an instructional designer's responsibility is making sure that technology is involved, but we're also still sticking with theory too, because people, at least my feeling is, people still like 4-year degrees. People still like getting some humanities with their computer science degree or something like that. So we're using technology to stay relevant, I guess, is really what I'm saying.
So, how would you answer the question about AI? We were just in multiple discussions today within our department about AI, the role of AI, how we're integrating it, kind of its ethics, its entirety, right? There are pros and cons to every technological solution that's been developed. Again, I was too young when the internet was launched and whether that was going to take over or not. But, where we are with AI, there are skeptics that would say, I could use AI instead of instructional designer today.
Yeah.
Why would I use you, right? So as an instructional designer, what is your response to that? If someone is thinking that AI can replace instructional designer, I guess the question is, A, can it? And then B, if it can't, why can't it, and what component is still so important of an in-person, real person instructional designer?
Well, if you just use AI, you're not going to get this smile and someone to laugh at your jokes and
A Valhalla visit as well, right?
right, yeah. So all that. Joking aside, I actually think that they should use AI prior to coming to, like, say, if they're at the kickoff meeting and then our design meeting is scheduled in a week. Go for it. Use stuff. It's fairly good. I'm not fully bought in like some folks are, but I would say that people that have used AI prior to coming to our initial design meetings are at least 3 steps ahead of people that don't. Whether it's super accurate, it's at least helpful. And then you're having the human aspect of it. Then I can say, yeah, no, that's a great idea. If you bounce it off of an LLM, it was spot on. I think that the human element is important, but for some, maybe it isn't as important. But I'm still going to be here to help with the project management. I'm still going to be here to help you with the platform. I'm still going to be here to help you with technology that's out and coming in, and whether or not you want to integrate it or not, and also just experience. So yeah. I don't know. I say use it though.
So you're saying those that have come to you using AI and the development and synthesization of the content and the management of the organization of the course have have been better prepared than those that have not. But the human element of logging into the LMS, designing these things, putting them in order, the experience of pedagogy and learning is something that AI is not able to replace at this point.
And I'd say that it has a lot more positive of a spin than, like, if I were to look at it, I might still be positive. I'd be like, oh, well, we might want to take another look at this. I'm not going to say, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of the best parts, I think, that instructors have told me about our process too, is that they've never actually had someone like audit all of their stuff. Like, it's just really helpful to sit down with somebody and be like, well, here's what I have. I know that I've been meaning to update this assessment. I know that. It's a multiple choice question that should be something else, but I'm not sure yet. But just having that time to have someone look at all of your stuff, and oftentimes I don't even have to do anything. They realize it, and that with someone else sitting in the room, they're like, oh yeah, I need to update that. It's been like 5 years, and I've been meaning to, and I don't think you're going to get that with just a chatbot or something yet.
Good work, right?
Yeah.
So what are you most excited about for the future of digital learning? And it may not necessarily exclusively be about instructional design, but just writ large, the field of digital learning. What are you most excited about the future?
I think technology will help us be a lot more dynamic. I've mentioned that a couple times, that word dynamic within your course. And, there's been some technology that's helped shift on the individual student experience. Say, like, if you aren't doing so well on this assessment, it might guide you to more practice assessments. But that was a lot more work than what it is now. I think we're able to get rid of some of the lower level assessments, and we can develop deeper experiences. I think with LLMs and AI, there's almost no excuse to have pretty good case studies. And that's like one of the biggest, it's a tough ask for me to tell an instructor, what if this was a case study? And they would say, yeah, that'd be great, but I don't have that time. I don't have a month, or whatever it takes, or I can't find a good enough resource. Now there is good enough resources.
Let's create one.
Yeah. And it doesn't take much time. So I think being able to have more enriching student experiences with technology is kind of here now. And if not, it's right around the corner. And I think that's what's going to be a really big win for online and digital ed.
So if you could describe or tell us the title of an online course that could be developed in the future that would be ideal for you, right? For you, what would the name of the course be, and what would it be teaching?
Jeez. Oh, I've been positive throughout this whole thing, and I'm about to get real dark. It would probably be like how to survive on a plot of land that you bought, how to buy the land and survive on that plot of land and thrive. And it would go through all the different kinds of skills that I would need, some of the stuff that, again, that my dad could have taught me but didn't have the resources, those things, how to like repair engines, how to wire a house, how to do like all kinds of things, how to do gardening. It would just be like a survival 101 course, I guess.
Okay, so what is one takeaway you hope our listeners remember about what it takes to design great learning experiences?
I think it's just hearkening back what you know to be as a good teaching experience, which is, it tends to be creativity and care. And if you can give yourself enough time to have those things, you're going to make a great student learning experience.
I think that's fascinating. So for our listeners, how can people connect with you or learn more about Rice Digital Learning?
Well, we have a terrific website.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, I had nothing to do with it, but I still take full credit for our team.
Okay, yeah.
But thank you. It's a great
sure.
website. I would endorse that.
Me personally, you can reach out to me if you want to connect. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm the only Seth Tyger on there. I don't know how responsive I'm going to be. It's not my favorite social media platform. I don't think any of them really are, but I will also just be really responsive to emails if you just want to have a chat. I'm Tyger at Rice. That's Tyger at rice.edu.
From all of us here at Rice Digital Learning, thanks for listening. Join us next time on Al Talk. You can learn more about our podcast and Rice Digital Learning at digital.rice.edu. Thanks so much.